Hi, I'm Graham and welcome back to Man vs Film. This is a top 10 of movies that you can watch right now on Amazon Prime UK for March 2017. Let's get started straight away with number 10, Nightcrawler. When Lewis Bloom, a driven and desperate man, begins to muscle his way into the world of LA crime journalism, he begins to blur the lines between observer and participant. Jake Gyllenhaal should have had an Oscar nomination for this movie. It is terrific, and it made the sort of line, if it bleeds, it leads, part of the lexicon. And the fact that you like Jake Gyllenhaal's character so much is a testament to the performance, because everything about the character is not nice. He is very smart, very driven, and extremely unsympathetic to the world round about him, and he has no problem in pushing people to the side to get by them. It's a very dark, sometimes comedic thriller that is terrific. Number 9 on my list is Southbound, and this is an anthology horror movie that comprises of 5 stories, all interlocking these characters who are travelling on a motorway, who have to confront their worst nightmares. Horror anthologies are usually hit and a miss, or sometimes they'll have one really good sort of segment and the rest will just be kind of filler material, but this one is across the board pretty good. There is of course some episodes I like better than others, but I think that's down to personal taste. But overall, this is one of the most consistent anthology movies that I have seen in a long while, with some terrific performances, some terrific stories, and ones that I would like to have seen expanded into a whole movie because the idea or the concept was just so intriguing. Okay, number 8 is Battleship. A fleet of ships is forced to do battle with an alien armada and stop their nefarious world-dominating plans. A movie based on a board game. It was never going to be an Oscar contender, really, was it? But I didn't think this was as bad as it was made out to be. It's definitely one of those guilty pleasure movies. It has some good action, and what more do you want? It's one of those movies that you can just throw on, shut off completely and enjoy it. Number 7 is Basic. A DEA agent investigates the disappearance of a legendary army drill sergeant and several of his cadets during an exercise that has gone severely awry. Samuel L. Jackson is the super badass drill sergeant. John Travolta is the DEA agent, and this is directed by John McTiernan of Die Hard fame, one of my favourite movies. This is kind of a mess of a movie, but it's quick, it's got some fun aspects, the mystery is intriguing, but it does have a few silly plot twists. But this is definitely my brand of silly, and I've watched this more times than I care to mention. Not a great movie, but one that I kind of like. Number 6 is The Call. When veteran 911 operator takes a call from a teenage girl who has just been kidnapped, she realises she's going to have to confront a killer from her past. Halle Berry stars and is pretty good in this suspense-filled thriller. Also good is Abigail Breslin as the kidnapped teenager who is pretty much stuck in a boot for the majority of this movie. This is an edge-of-a-seat thriller that you're just not quite sure what's going to happen. It is a little bit generic, and the final third goes in a direction I wasn't 100% keen on, but still a very good movie. Number 5 is Bad Taste. The population of a small town disappears and is replaced by aliens that chase humans for their intergalactic fast food chain. Peter Jackson's first movie is a love letter to the 50s aliens movie, but given a sort of gore sensibility. It was filmed over 4.5 years, and it is definitely a love letter to creativity. The effort that is put into this movie to create such wacky scenes that you get in this is unbelievable, and the fact that it took such a long period of time, it's amazing that it sort of stays cohesive and coherent as it is. Its blood and gore is abundant and it's hilarious, but it's not for everybody. If you're really curious to see where Peter Jackson, Lord of the Rings fame started, this one's probably going to give you a bit of a shock. From one alien invasion to another, number 4 is They Live. A drifter discovers a pair of glasses that wake him up to the fact that aliens have taken over the world. I'm a huge John Carpenter fan, and I think that this is one of his best movies, and it's one of his that I've watched the most. And it's a movie that tackles certain subjects as well, like consumerism and the fact that the 1% are kind of controlling everything for the masses and keeping the sort of lower classes down. It also has a tremendous kick-ass fight scene in the middle of it, starring Keith David and Rowdy Piper. It's a terrific movie with some quotable lines in it as well that I'm sure you've heard multiple times before. Number 3 on my list is Apocalypse Now. During the Vietnam War, Captain Willard is tasked to assassinate a renegade colonel who has set himself up as a god amongst the tribesmen. Apocalypse Now is a movie that needs to be seen to be believed. It is a masterpiece of filmmaking, and it almost killed Francis Ford Coppola making this, as well as many of the actors involved. It's a movie that kind of tackles the effects of war, but more kind of concentrates on the madness that it creates within people and the descent into that madness. It's a dark, violent, sometimes humorous movie that looks visually stunning and is anchored by some absolutely tremendous performances. Number 2 on my list is Eye in the Sky. A military officer in charge of an operation to capture terrorists sees her mission escalate beyond her control. It's a terrorist thriller where a military's operation is debated by politicians in a room. You don't really get much action in this movie, yet it keeps you at the edge of the seat and super tense. As well as a fantastic cast, it has a riveting story and a super tense final third. This movie had a really average generic trailer that put me off seeing it for the longest while, and I'm so glad that I actually sat down and watched it, because this is a terrific movie that really opens up a debate, a conversation about drone warfare and the implications of it. And the number 1 movie on my list this month is Everybody Wants Some. In 1980, a group of college baseball players navigate their way through the freedoms and responsibilities of unsupervised adulthood. This was Richard Linklater's spiritual successor to Dazed and Confused, one of my top 10 movies of all time. So I was a little bit worried about going into this because that was a big comparison to put onto this movie, and I was a little bit worried that he wasn't going to be able to recapture the magic, but I think he did, and in fact I think this movie may be a little bit better than Dazed and Confused. It's all about this core group of characters, some who you like, some who you just don't like, some you can identify with, most of them you can't. It gives you a look into these people's lives, how they go about, how they're still trying to form their personality even though they're into college. And on top of that, it's just funny. I mean, I think this movie is absolutely hilarious. It took me a little while to settle into it at first, but once I found the tone and the rhythm of the movie, I found it captivating, really enjoyable, hilarious, and people that I wanted to spend more time with. And I will go back to this because I just enjoy being in the company of these people, and that's what you feel like you're doing. It's not like a plot driven story, it's more of a mood, feeling piece, and I think it is absolutely terrific. So that's 10 movies that I want you to check out this month on Amazon Prime. Remember to come back next month and see another top 10, and if you haven't already done, click subscribe or click like and give me a little bit of an ego boost. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time on Man vs Film.